Earth did not look ready for war. From space it looked soft, blue oceans, white clouds, small lights on the night side, no giant defense fleet, no burning shield around the planet, no warning shots. That was why the Varkon Empire came with confidence. Their fleet filled the dark above Earth like a wall of metal. Thousands of ships waited in orbit, silent and sharp, their engines glowing like cold stars. Below them, cities kept moving. Cars drove through streets, people went to work, children sat in classrooms. To the Empire, this was proof. Earth was weak. On the lead ship, Commander Rael watched the planet through a wide glass screen. His officers stood behind him, waiting for the landing order. "Any military response?" he asked. "None," said the sensor officer. "No major weapons lock, no fleet movement, no orbital attack." Rael's thin mouth curved. "Then they understand fear." But Earth did not understand fear the way the Empire thought. In a small school outside Nairobi, a teacher named Miss Amara stood in front of 27 children. The windows shook softly as another alien ship passed overhead. Some children were crying. Some stared at the sky. Miss Amara kept her voice calm. "Everyone, listen to me," she said. "We are going to continue the project." A boy raised his hand with shaking fingers. "The Science Fair Project?" "Yes," she said. "The Signal Project." On her desk sat a small homemade device made from wires, old radio parts, and a cheap solar battery. It was built to send a simple pattern into the air, a harmless pattern, a child's pattern. But across Earth, millions of devices were waiting for that same pattern, and in orbit the Empire had no idea that the first human weapon was not hidden in a missile silo. It was sitting on a school desk. Miss Amara looked at the little machine on her desk. It was not beautiful. The wires were uneven. Tape held one side together. A child had written "Hope Signal" on the case with blue marker. The idea had started as a school lesson. Months ago, the children had asked if tiny signals could travel farther when many people sent them together. Miss Amara had turned it into a simple project. One weak signal meant almost nothing, but many weak signals, sent at the same time, could become one strong voice. Now that lesson was no longer for school. It was for survival. Across Earth, phones, radios, satellites, old weather stations, fishing boats, farm sensors, and broken machines in garages were waiting. Every device had received the same emergency code. Do not attack. Do not panic. Send the pattern. In orbit, Commander Rael gave the first landing order. Begin descent. The first wave of Varkon ships moved down toward the clouds. Then Miss Amara nodded to a girl named Lani. Lani pressed the button. The school machine clicked once. A soft tone entered the air. Then another. Then another. At first, nothing happened. Rael watched Earth with cold satisfaction. "Primitive," he whispered. But his sensor officer frowned. "Commander, there is noise." "What kind of noise?" "I do not know. It is everywhere." On Earth, millions of small devices began repeating the children's pattern. The signal bounced from city to city, tower to tower, dish to dish. It moved like rain across the planet. The alien landing ships shook. Their navigation screens flashed. One pilot shouted, "Our descent path is changing." Another ship turned without command, then 10, then 100. Rael stood up slowly. On the screen, his perfect invasion line began to bend. The ships were not falling. They were not exploding. They were simply losing the ability to understand where Earth was, and the tiny sound kept growing. The Varkon Empire had crossed black holes, storm moons, and frozen war zones. But now their fleet was being stopped by a sound made in a classroom. Commander Rael slammed his hand on the command table. "Find the source." The sensor officer worked fast. His claws moved over the screen. "There is no single source," he said. "It is coming from everywhere." Rael stared at him. "Everywhere is not an answer." Below, Miss Amara watched the children sit in a circle. Each child held a small radio card. Their job was simple. Keep the pattern steady. Tap, pause, tap, tap, pause. Not fast, not loud. Just steady. Lani looked at the teacher. "Will they hurt us?" Miss Amara wanted to say no, but she would not lie. "They might try," she said. But right now, they are confused. And confused enemies make mistakes. In orbit, that was already happening. Ready. One Varkon landing ship tried to force its way through the signal. Its engine fired too hard. The ship spun sideways, nearly hitting another vessel. "Pull them back," Rail ordered. But the order arrived late. The fleet's command system was built for clean signals. Perfect signals, military signals. Human signals were messy. They came from old radios, broken phones, school toys, hospital machines, farm towers, weather balloons and deep-sea cables. The Empire tried to block one layer. Earth answered with 10 more. An officer whispered, "Commander, this is not a weapon." Rail turned sharply. "What?" "It is a crowd." The words made the bridge quiet. On the main screen, Earth glowed under the fleet. Not weak, not silent. Alive. Then a new warning appeared. Landing system error, planetary position unknown. Rail's face changed. For the first time, he understood. Humans had not built one giant shield. They had turned the whole planet into one. And the children's signal was only the beginning. Commander Rael ordered the fleet to rise higher. "Leave the signal range," he said, "now." But the ships did not move together. Some climbed, some drifted. Some turned in slow circles as if they were lost animals. Their maps showed wrong distances. Their landing computers marked oceans as mountains and clouds as solid ground. The Empire had never trained for this. They knew how to fight missiles. They knew how to break shields. They knew how to burn cities. They did not know how to fight a planet that refused to give them one clear target. On Earth, the signals spread beyond machines. People began helping in simple ways. A taxi driver parked near a radio tower and connected his car battery. A fisherman turned his boat antenna toward the sky. Nurses in a hospital basement kept an old transmitter alive during a power cut. No one felt like a hero, they were just keeping the pattern alive. Inside the classroom, the children were tired. Their hands hurt from tapping. Their eyes kept moving to the windows. Miss Amara saw it. "Switch partners," she said gently. "No one carries it alone." That became the rule across Earth. No one carries it alone. In orbit, the Varkon fleet began to vanish from its own command screen. Not destroyed, not dead, just disconnected. One ship after another dropped out of Rail's control. "Reconnect them," he shouted. "We cannot," the officer said. "Their systems are choosing local safety mode." Rail froze. Local safety mode meant every ship believed it was alone in unknown space. Then the first battleship turned away from Earth, then another, then hundreds. The invasion formation broke apart like dust in wind. On Earth, Lani looked at the little machine. "Are we winning?" she asked. Miss Amara listened to the soft tapping around the room. "No," she said quietly. "We are surviving." Commander Rael watched his empire fall apart without a battle. No fire, no explosions, no heroic charge. Just silence spreading across his command screen. His best ships were still there, but they no longer obeyed him. Each vessel believed Earth was too dangerous to approach. Their own safety systems had locked them out of the invasion. "Override it," Rael said. The officer shook his head. "The override needs fleet-wide agreement." Rael looked at the broken formation. There was no fleet anymore. Only trapped ships floating above a planet they could not understand. Then a human voice entered the bridge. It was calm, female, tired. "This is Earth Civil Defense. Varkon ships, your landing systems are disabled. Your weapons are not targeted unless you fire first. Move away from Earth orbit and you will not be harmed." Rail's eyes narrowed. "They speak now?" The voice continued. "You came here expecting soldiers. You found children, teachers, workers, farmers, nurses, and engineers. That was your mistake." In the classroom, Miss Amara heard the same message from a small speaker. The children looked at her, wide-eyed. Lani whispered, "They know about us." Miss Amara smiled weakly. They always knew. Above Earth, some Varkon captains listened. Many had never wanted this invasion. They had followed orders because the Empire punished doubt. Now Earth was giving them something strange, a way out. One by one, ships began turning their noses away from the planet. Rail saw it and shouted, "Cowards!" But his voice carried nowhere. His command channel was dead. The children's signal kept pulsing softly below. Not like a weapon, but like a heartbeat. Rael looked at Earth again. For the first time, it did not look weak. It looked patient. And patience, he realized, was more frightening than anger. Most of the Varkon ships left Earth orbit. They did not retreat like a defeated army. They moved like scared animals backing away from fire. Slowly, carefully, without turning their weapons on again. But Commander Rael stayed. His command ship floated above the night side of Earth, alone and stubborn. "If they can stop us with children," he said, "then children are their weakness." His officer stared at him in horror. "Commander, that is not what this means." Rael ignored him. He ordered one hidden drone to drop through the atmosphere. Its target was not a city, not a military base, not a power plant, a school. The drone fell silently. In Miss Amara's classroom, the children were packing their radios when the emergency lights turned red. Miss Amara froze. Then every phone in the room spoke at once. "Move away from the windows." She did not ask questions. She pulled the children into the hallway. High above, the drone suddenly stopped, not exploded, stopped. Around it, hundreds of small civilian drones appeared. Delivery drones, weather drones, farm drones, camera drones, even toys. They locked around the alien machine like a living net. Then the human voice returned to Rael's bridge. "You were warned." Rael's screen went black. When it came back, his own ship was no longer in Earth orbit. It was drifting near the moon, fully disabled, surrounded by human rescue craft. No one had killed him. That made it worse. Earth had beaten him and still chosen control over revenge. Below, Lani looked out from the hallway as the sky became quiet again. "Is it over now?" she asked. Miss Amara looked at the small radio in her hands. "No," she said softly, "but now the galaxy knows Earth is not weak.